All right, so here is amp number 8 in my series of amplifiers that I have owned in my lifetime. This one I got in the late 80s after I came back from New England to Los Angeles. And this one was very interesting historically because at the time, a lot of guitar players were starting to go with rack mount units where they would have an amplifier, like a power amp and a preamp and effects units all mounted into a rack and then controlled with some sort of a foot pedal type of thing. So this amp was an amp that was developed to be kind of part of a rack. So it actually had its own rack built into it. So anyway, in keeping with that, that's one of the reasons I bought it, was because then I could mount like rack mounted effects into the unit itself, which I actually did. Um, Another thing was this amp was designed by Fender to cater to people that played heavy metal. So this control right here was a contour which changed the mid frequency, so you could either have more mids or scoop the mids out and get more of a more, vintage type of heavy mid sound, or a scooped sort of heavy metal sound. And for a solid state amp, it had a pretty good sort of tube like saturation in the gain, and lots of gain. The negative part of this amplifier was that even though it was rated at 80 watts, it wasn't loud enough. I struggled. I had to really crank the thing. Uh, when I was playing in a heavy metal band at the time, and I really had to crank the volume. And once you got past a certain point, it just didn't really get any louder. And it was nowhere near the volume of my GCM 800. I mean, it was still pretty loud, but it just, it sounded really good. It just didn't have the low end thump, and it didn't have the power to really, blast, through a really loud drummer. So that was a cause of frustration for me, and the main reason why eventually I got rid of it. But I did keep it for a couple of years for sure, and I actually had I ran dual amps. I had this one, and then I also had the combo, which was a stereo chorus amp that also sounded really good. Um, it was 212 combo with a chorus. I think I have a picture of that in here somewhere, so you can see what that one looked like. Yeah, here we go. Just waiting for it to load, folks. Be patient. So here's a used one for sale at Guitar Center, so you can see what it looks like. So yeah, so that was the combo version. The cool thing about the combo was that for a a 212 combo, it was very light, so it was easy to carry around because it was solid state. It didn't have tubes in it. But again, a problem with volume when cutting through a drummer. But it was a really good sounding amplifier, and I think a lot of people didn't liked them. So there you go, the M80.